Hey folks, man, this is Monk, and we are back with another episode of Classics of Cinematics, and this is going to be another one of our list episodes, man. And me and Bob B. Blockbuster, my co-host.
Yo!
Totally messed up.
Yeah, I know.
But regardless, man, we decided to talk about films that were box office flops that were actually good, man. And so we just picked three of these. So I'm gonna set it off with 1998's Mighty Joe Young, man. And I love this film, man. I'm biased, man. I love anything apes. A lot of ape stuff going on this year. We got Monkey Man, Planet of the Apes done came back, and we had, what was the other ape movie that just dropped? King Kong versus Godzilla also came out. So this is kind of along those lines, man. This film is crazy. It stars Charlize Theron. It's got Bill Paxton in this, but in this film, an orphan gorilla, is rescued by, humans and grows up to be giant, bro. This thing's like 15 feet tall, and there's, hunters out to get him and all that and stuff like that. But interesting thing about this film, it had a $90 million budget, and it made about $50 million at the box office. So it was definitely a flop. Yeah. But I think this is a good film. This is a good family film. It's a good story. It's based on the original Mighty Joe Young film, which was cool. Ray Harryhausen animation, the same guy who animated the original King Kong film. And I think Mighty Joe Young is a superior story than King Kong. Watching the original Mighty Joe Young, black and white, as a kid, it made me cry, bro. The end of that joint. So, this ending on this one isn't that tragic, but what I think this film also represents, even though it was a box office failure, I think it was a time where we were transitioning into that more CGI based animation, and this gorilla Joe Young looks beautiful on this, man. Like my man's fur look like he be in the salon, just getting that joint just to the groom to the T, man. Like it's crazy how this looked at that time. Like it's like and for them to get this character with so much expression, the animation, and he felt real, man. And I think that's where the heart of this film really shines through, man. The interaction he has with Charlize Theron's character, it's just a cool film, man. And it's kind of sad that it did bomb like it did, but also I think this also was indicative of the problem with going this route. Your costs increase exponentially, but at the same time, I don't think this film looks as good or comes off as good as it did without you spending that money to get those effects right. And like I said, I think sometimes films fail, but what they did becomes stepping stones into making even better films, in my opinion. It's almost like this film failed so that later on Peter Jackson's King Kong could succeed.
Someone has to take the L. What I mean, that's the way the world works. But no, I'm with you. I mean, I still like this movie. I was a fan of Mighty Joe Young as well. So my first box office bust is going to be Nothing But Trouble, and that's exactly what this film brought to its budgetary restraints and restrictions, and to the box office. On a $45 million budget, it pulled back $8.4 million. That is not good. And this was the directorial debut of Dan Aykroyd. The film, the story was actually written by Dan Aykroyd's brother, Peter Aykroyd, and it was inspired by a true event that Dan Aykroyd was telling him about at a time when he was pulled over in upstate New York, and then he was brought to a justice of the peace and pretty much coerced into staying longer than he wanted to be there, invited to dinner. What should have been a 20-minute, maybe 30-minute interaction turned into like a 4.5-hour exchange. Unwanted by Dan Aykroyd, and then his brother was like, "This sounds like a great horror movie." But ultimately, this is one of these movies that it's so bad it's good. And mainly because of its cast. I mean, when you look at it, this is a stellar cast for a 1991 film where you have Chevy Chase, Dan Aykroyd playing dual roles, John Candy playing dual roles, Demi Moore, and amongst others. But and it pretty much, this one is it is weird on every level when you really sit back and watch this and digest this film, and it kind of hits like a more lighthearted version of Texas Chainsaw, like there with no Leatherface. Like you get all of these horror elements when it comes to a grotesque family doing grotesque family stuff in a secluded area, and the thing that kind of pushes.
I love Dan Aykroyd.
Yeah, that pushes this through is Dan Aykroyd playing the judge. So in this little pocket area of this pocket town, Dan Aykroyd is a judge, and what he does is he pulls over people that seem like they're living on the better side of life. Like he hates bankers because he feels his family was, done wrongly by bankers, and so, with Chevy Chase driving a fresh new Beamer and looking like he's made of money and everything, they get pulled over, and he pretty much tries to hold them captive, and that is what happens to you if you are lucky, because they also have a roller coaster called, what is it? Let me see what I had to write the damn name down of this roller coaster. Mr. Bone Stripper, where that is their version of the what happens if you get sentenced to death, where you ride this roller coaster. It might be fun for about 2.5 seconds. You get tossed on this conveyor belt, and then your bones get stripped from your body and spit out the back end. And it is just it is wild conceptually. It is gross visually. There are parts where Dan Aykroyd's character is removing his nose. His nose looks like it looks like a little penis on his face, and they accentuate that. The part where he rips it off, and it's wild, dude. But one thing that this film does have, and what it is most notable for, is we get a brief section of this film where Digital Underground is pulled over, and they have to now come see the judge, and they perform their same song. And this was. And you see Tupac, and this was the first film that he was in, and he was a backup dancer for Digital Underground, and this was the song where he spit his first verse in. So, without this movie, I mean, sure, the song would have still got made, but it was presented to the world in this film, and that's why this film is always going to be near and dear in my heart, just because of that alone. And I mean, once you get past the grotesqueness of it and just the complete utter missing of mark of the story, it has some charm. You just got to dig a little deep to find it.
That's what's up, man. So my next one is going to be The Thing from 1982, and this film made $15 million budget, and it made $19 million, and yeah, they came a little bit over breaking even, but you add in marketing costs and other kinds of costs, and this thing technically was a box office flop, but I think it found its life later on in home video rentals, and just period, it is one of the greatest horror films ever made. It's probably top 5, dude, easily. Just for what it's accomplished, what it's established, for John Carpenter, what it did for, horror films in general. And it's just it's crazy, man. Like to this day, I think to this day, they probably made that money back, just with all the iterations of DVD releases, now Blu-ray. We've got a sequel. There's talks of even more, The Thing stuff. There was a video game, built off of this, several comic book, iterations. But this is definitely one that the box office is a deception, man. It's one of the things where you can't put, just because things do well commercially doesn't mean that they're great. There's definitely a few billion-dollar films out there that are absolute garbage. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
It seems like that's being course corrected lately, but this film is the real deal. It gives us one of the craziest sci-fi stories, atmosphere. It even upped the level of special effects and makeup. You know what I'm saying? At the time it was released, man. And on top of that, you've also got some crazy, really good performances in the thing at the same time, man. It's very rare that films come out and they nail it in so many different categories. Even the music, the score, and all that is notable. So yeah, man. The Thing is definitely probably one of the films that was one of the biggest flops, but it's also one of the best films at the same time
ever made. I mean, and it hurts my heart that The Thing even has to be on this list, because it shouldn't be, because it is the poster child for practical effects.
Like I said, I think ultimately it became profitable from all the releases, the tie-ins. The toys are still coming out, but I feel like nowadays filmmaking is such an expensive endeavor. Yeah. A lot of films that flop that are actually good, they never redeem themselves, you know, in that way, you know.
And when it comes to films with a cult following, this one probably leads the pack. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you can see the cult following this from 2 miles away, you know what I'm saying, with no binoculars.
Yeah,
so,
definitely.
And speaking of binoculars, that's going to bring me to my next flop, which is The Fan, 1996 film. This is one of my favorite sport films. It sucks because it did so bad box officely, but it's still so good, so near and dear to my heart. So it on a $55 million budget, it only pulled back $42 million, so it underwhelmed. But when you have Robert De Niro, Wesley Snipes, John Leguizamo, Benicio del Toro, Ellen Barkin, amongst others, in one film and at the same time, that's all surrounded and encompassed by this sports element, it should not fail. And what this film does for me is it really embodies the slow, sadistic psychoticness of an obsessive sports fan. You know, where Robert De Niro, as his world is crashing around him, he is failing as a worker, as a husband, as a father. The only thing that he is holding on to is his love, not only for baseball, but for his near and dear San Francisco Giants. And of course, hometown hero, superstar Bobby Rayburn, played by Wesley Snipes, just got $40 million to come play for the Giants, his hometown. And everyone's expectations are high. De Niro, who plays Gil, his expectations are through the roof. Rayburn starts underperforming. This movie is such a psychological jumblefuck, and it was so dark and so gritty, and I think that's why it underperformed, because it was a little too much for a lot of people to take in when it comes to a sports film of any nature, but especially like this, with De Niro playing a very similar character to what he portrayed as Max Cady in Cape Fear, wrapped around a baseball fan.
Yeah, I don't know. I've still never seen it fully. Like,
oh, you are missing out.
People tell me that, but like, I think part of probably why it didn't hit as hard is because of the sport. I feel like if he was like a football player, you know what I'm saying?
Are you trying to say baseball sucks?
Yeah. Or a basketball player, I think it would have got more interest in the general public. Like, even the baseball people didn't even go see this. Right? I don't know. I know.
I'm a football, basketball guy, but baseball don't suck.
It may be a good film, but like what is he going to be mad at? He's not hitting as good as he could.
Yes.
That's it.
Yes,
there's a lot more you can do with like you can
$40 million. You need to hit the ball.
You can have hecklers. You can have a lot of crazy stuff going on with other sports, man. I think they got more just antics going.
You know, the only thing, one wild thing about baseball, it's the only sport that is played,
and he doesn't seem like he like you needed like a prime time. He didn't seem like, you know what I'm saying? You needed a primetime character. Yeah. I think. He's kind of just more like, all right, I'm playing good.
Food for thought. Baseball's the only sport that's played without a time clock. It can last forever. People keep hitting the ball.
That's a problem too, man.
You can be spending the night at the stadium.
I don't know, man. Let me see what I got. My last one, I'm going to be talking about the Iron Giant. And this one was one that was probably one of the biggest flops because they spent $70 million making this film, and they made $20 million back in the box office. And what was crazy about the time when this film was made, it was kind of being pushed out there. I think Pixar stuff had dropped, recently, and it was taking over, man. Like, so they were. I guess this was the studio's shot at going with a traditional animation, you know what I'm saying? And trying to be like, but people thinking, people still want to come see this stuff. So this was a 1999 film. That's how late it was in the cycle, By then we've already got, I think a Toy Story has been out. So there was a few things that were dropping on the animation level at this time. So this was kind of like the last holdout. I forgot who put this out. I think this might have been Warner Brothers. Yeah, it's a Warner Brothers animation film. And crazily enough, man, this is probably in the top 5 of animated films that got theatrical releases. The cult following is crazy.
Yeah.
And all of that. And interestingly enough, even though this film is mostly traditional animation, there are some 3D stuff going on when you look at some of the background effects and things that you will see become common later on in other more modern animation techniques, even ones that seemingly look hand-drawn. You know what I'm saying? A lot of stuff now looks like it's hand-drawn, but it's really still computer generated imagery. They're using computer and stuff to put these things together. But Iron Giant was showing a lot of those techniques. And what's crazy about this, man, this story is crazy. It's one of the best animated films. It's a story about this this robot, you know what I'm saying, that escapes. This is meant for war, combat. You know, and what's interestingly enough, it befriends this little boy. It almost seems to have a sentience about it, like it's self-aware, and to the point where it realizes that at one point it is a weapon, and it doesn't want to. You know, it's like, I don't want that just to define my existence, man. It's kind of this is a powerful story wrapped up in this kid's film, man, and I think that's why it endures. It's set. It's a period piece. You know, I think it's in the Cold War era, you know, after the World War, so it's coming out in that arms race era. Mm-hmm. So there's some cool, just technical design. Even the robot himself looks like something out of the 50s, you know, early 60s. You know, so, and this thing holds up, man. The voice casting and all of that. It's just a shame though, because then you would get something, you know, this total garbage, you know, and that thing breaks box office records, you know. But I don't know. I don't know if it was marketing or like I said, this was on the edge, so maybe people were so much more used to the newer computer animated stuff, and this was to them was like a step back, and it didn't have his interest. But if you watch this thing, this is probably one of the best animated films ever made. You know,
people got spoiled, and I'm with you. Like, just imagine a film like with a war tank that has a conscience. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, this film was so emotionally pleasing and gratifying and gripping. I mean, gosh, for a cartoon, to start playing the drums on your heart, you know what I'm saying? It's a beautiful thing to see, you know what I'm saying? Because they can really stretch the limits of your imagination with that. I am with you 100%. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to match your 1999, and I'm going to match your biggest box office flop with one of the duly noted biggest movie flops ever in the history of filmmaking, but one of my favorite warrior adventure films in life, The 13th Warrior. You will never hear me say nothing bad about this film. The only bad thing that I'm going to say is what is already duly noted and on paper, that it had a budget of somewhere between $85 to $160 million and only pulled back 61.7 mil. This movie was it was kind of doomed from the get because there was directorial switches. The film was based off of Michael Crichton's Eaters of the Dead, and after the directorial switch, they brought Crichton on to help inspire and help navigate the new director. What was it? John McTiernan. And what ended up happening is Crichton seemed to think that he was sitting in the director's chair as well. So there were a lot of issues that were happening behind the camera with, how things were supposed to be done. You know, the vision,
he should have sat his ass down because he ain't do nothing but rewrite Beowulf.
Exactly, and that's you know what? High five on that one, bro. Because this is a retelling of Beowulf, and I'm glad you said that. So now I don't have to say it, and I can move right into the meat and potatoes of this, because this movie is so visually and aesthetically pleasing for me. I thought what McTiernan did was great. It looks really, really good. It's shot really well as we follow even Fadlan, a Middle Eastern ambassador who's kicked out of his land because he can't, he messing with the wrong women. You know what I'm saying? You don't mess with the king's wife, and he ends up becoming part of a tribe of like Vikings, you know what I'm saying, who pretty much have to go to another land to help these other individuals fight this foreign creature, this unspoken element that they, that everybody fears, knows of, and no one speaks. It's just beautiful to see him start from the bottom and rise to the top, as he is not only just finding a way to become part of this Viking unit, but become a better warrior in himself. There's so much going on with this film that I think that when it came out, either the world wasn't ready for this kind of a film, or they expected too much because it took so long to come out, and with the directorial changes and everything, that the expectation bar was set a little too high, that they just were not ready for the final product.
They also cut one of the worst trailers ever. That didn't help. That was dog shit.
It was, and also it was very misleading. You know what I'm saying? Like, with the trailer, from what I remember, you think that they're dealing with a supernatural element, not another tribe of humans that just conduct themselves as animals.
I was cool with that, because that's kind of something everyone's thinking until it's revealed later. But I'm just saying, as a trailer that you're trying to cut to get people excited for something, they did that. It was crazy. It opens up with like an R&B song. Yeah, and I'm just like, dude, it just looks bad, man. Because a lot of times I've been sold by a trailer that just was badass, and you go see the movie and you're just like, damn,
they showed me all the good stuff.
I remember that. Like they should have called those guys up. I'm like, dude, like this is crazy, man.
Because this film has so much to offer, and I mean, it has a very high, character element. You know what I'm saying? All of the characters are meaningful, and the story is really, really good once you dive into it. But
it's unfortunate, man.
Sometimes you swing and you miss.
Yeah, but see it yourself, folks, man. And I think that's it for this one, man. We're gonna wrap this up, man. You're gonna be able to catch us everywhere, man. We in Instagram. We on here on this YouTube, man. So tell everybody about us. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. And I'm on Monkey Blood at Twitter and Instagram, on those platforms, man.
There you go. Yeah,
check us out there. Buy some merch, man.
We're real people. We're out in the real world. It's Bobby Blockbuster. You can catch me on this show or on our other film review show, or out there somewhere, maybe at the grocery store or something like that. You know what I'm saying? But we like Cora said, we out here, man.
All right, folks, we out of here. What was this thing? Let's stop the recording.